if we ceased enforcing our financial policy on the rest of the world, then our money would probably collapse very quickly.
There's never been a government that wasn't owned by the rich.
If there's no store of value, then it's not a money.
They're selling you that we're going to do all this stuff and we're going to tax the rich, but it's never happened.
DJ Badger coming at you live with Dad Influence.
Here at work, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh. All right, so what are we, what's this ad thing you're talking about here?
Oh, I got, the ad read. I'll add it in later.
Oh, okay.
Because I got a new sponsor, which is pretty neat.
And you said something about Ganja Man?
Yeah, Dr. Ganja.
I
So
dig
I'll
it.
probably plug it here.
We are excited to introduce our first sponsor, Dr. Ganja. Dr. Ganja offers a variety of high-quality CBD and CBD-related products. One of my personal favorites is their THCA products, which can be heated to convert into the real thing. This is a great option for those living in states where cannabis is still illegal. It's actually legal in most of those states. As a special offer to our followers, please use the promo code DADINFLUENCE, that's DADINFLUENCE, to receive a discount and free shipping on your purchase. Thank you.
I have this thing where when discourse starts to spiral out of control into just insults and name calling, I tend to like to use, and it's a thing that a lot of people use but don't even realize it. I like to use sharp phrases, because basically what it does when people are calling you these names, transphobes, bigots, homophobes, all of that, and they're shutting down discourse that way, generally you can usually bypass it real quick with a sharp phrase like genital or bottom surgery is genital mutilation. I mean, and some people are going to take offense to that. However, it's not false, because it is mutilating genitals, and it's not nearly the type of uncivil discourse that happens from calling people transphobes, bigots, and homophobes, but it still stops that in its tracks for a moment and gets people around you, not usually the ones that are calling you the homophobes or whatever, but other people who are just paying attention. It gets them around you to pay attention. That's what those sharp phrases are for. It's for them to pay attention to what you're saying, and they're like, oh, okay, she's talking about human rights violations. I should probably listen to this. And
Right.
then,
This is something that actually, just not trying to interrupt you too hard here. I'm gonna let you go on. But this is something that I'm not sure if I've talked about it on the podcast or not, but it's something that I rail about all the time, is avoiding the euphemistic language. Don't let things be called what they aren't. These things are defined as a reason. You have these connotations that are added to things to make them sound more agreeable. But the thing is what the thing is. And I think that's basically kind of what you're getting at. You're saying, like, this is what the definition of this is. This is what international human rights organizations say. This is what genital mutilation is. And it fits this to a T.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Whether or not you agree with the connotation of it being genital mutilation is irrelevant to the fact that it is.
Correct.
In the same way that, like, I kind of point out, I'll say war is mass murder. And then people will be like, well, no, because this guy's is, this and this. And I was like, well, those are all euphemisms. If I order someone to kill somebody, right, it should be treated the same whether I have president behind my name or if I don't.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the idea of, let's get rid of these euphemisms. George Carlin has a really long bit that's really funny about that, where he was kind of you know, saying, kind of pointing that out. It's like as if you dress up a horrible thing in you know, in pretty language, and it makes the thing not horrible anymore.
And I love George Carlin, and pretty language is something that the left loves to do. On both sides, the authoritarian and the libertarian left, they both love pretty language. It's something that they do. They dress up, mainly in the auth left, they will dress up bad things in beautiful language so it's easier for people to accept, like my body, my choice, right?
Well, I mean, it was kind of the same thing as, you know, the idea, and I know a lot of people are going to get mad. Let me make a very quick point to here and say that the apples to oranges thing is just retarded. I'm sorry, but let's just be real here. Apples and oranges are both fruit.
Right?
Just because you're comparing two things doesn't mean you're saying they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But apparently you have to explain that nowadays. But
Yeah.
if you look at the Nazis didn't say that they were setting out to exterminate the Jews. They were
No.
cleansing Germany. It's
Yes.
about the word choice is very important when you're trying to do things that are horrible.
Correct.
You know, no one ever sells these things on beautiful, you know, on the horrible language that they actually are. It's very, very, very seldom that they say the quiet part out loud.
But with the sharp phrases like that, you can usually get the underlying message of the ideology without people even realizing that they're exposing it. For instance, when I was told that it was unacceptable to what was it? It was unacceptable for me to dehumanize lesbians who enjoy dicks. But they're going to get rid of the alt view of lesbians who don't like dicks. That's been a message within lesbians community for a long time, you know, like lesbians, oh well, maybe, you know, you might not be a lesbian, maybe if you just tried dick. But really what it boils down to, I believe, is people just don't like to talk about genitals.
I might have a weird view when it comes to sexual orientation in general. I believe it's all fetish. And then I believe that everyone has a collection of fetishes, and then that kind of just plays out to be what their sexual orientation is, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
So it's kind of like, you know, and if you, in my opinion, explaining it this way creates understanding that everybody can get behind. But, you know, it's like I don't understand a foot fetish any more than I understand gay dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I understand lesbians.
Of course you do. Most people
You
do.
see what I'm saying? Because it's like I have the same, you know, I have the same interests, so I understand what you're going and where you're at. I get it. You know, and that's kind of my point is like it's not to cheapen anything, as the left will get mad at me and say you're fetishizing sexual orientation. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm saying that at the end of the day, it's not necessarily for you to understand. It's for you to realize that if they're not hurting anybody, it's none of your damn business.
Right?
You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's like, who cares? It's like that guy likes dudes and that guy likes chicks. Who cares?
I find,
as long as, you know, everything's consensual, I don't care.
I find the whole I was born this way thing to be a lie. It's a way to tell you basically that you have the freedom of choice, but there's a contradiction with your freedom of choice or being pro-choice when you were just born this way. That's a contradiction, right?
Right.
Like, if I make the choice and I'm not born this way, then I truly do have the freedom of choice.
Right. And that's kind of that. I kind of like the old Dave Smith. He makes this point a lot where he's like, dude, there's literally documented evidence of gay people saying that they are gay by choice. Like
Yeah.
there's a gay author, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but literally like he said that he was literally gay because it pissed off the authority. That was
It's,
literally the reason he wanted to do it. He did it because it pissed people off. So
and
like
you know what?
no, that's
That's a
not
good enough
me
freaking
saying
reason
that
for me.
every and like again, this isn't me cheapening anybody being gay, saying like you can't be gay. And like I don't know 100% to say that no gays are gay by choice, or no gays are born gay. I couldn't really make that assertion because we honestly don't know enough about consciousness to really say that for sure, one way or another. But what we can say is at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's irrelevant.
I don't know if
Whether
it's
you're
so
born
much
or it's
not
your
irrelevant.
choice, I believe you have the right
I don't.
because
I'm
there's
gonna
no
get a
harm.
little. I'm gonna get a little crazy here for just a second, and I know this might piss some people off, but I'm really just, some people just get offended. I can't help it. I find that for me, I'll talk about my own experience. My own experience was realizing that what happened, what I am, my sexual orientation is a choice, is what helped me get out of the dysphoria, if that makes any sense at all. It gave me power by saying I made a choice and I can live this choice because I'm free to do that. It gave me a sense of
Right.
power and didn't make me feel like I belonged to anything else but me.
Exactly. And that's kind of my point is this is kind of the thing where I'm kind of coming at it from is like I think it is a relevant in general it's a choice. Otherwise you wouldn't have had closeted people, if
Correct.
that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
to an extent it's gotta be a choice. But like at the same time, I do also believe that there are certain things that might lead you to make certain choices, right?
Absolutely.
Like
There are
there's chemicals,
environmental
there's
aspects.
hormones, there's things like that. So that's kind of my point is like it's one of those things where we're really trying to tease out nature versus nurture, which both I think have a hand to play in that. But again, at the end of the day, I always see it as irrelevant. Like, are there certain chemical, compounds that were present in my brain and certain things that happened in certain developmental and certain situations that I was exposed to that all added up to make me a guy that likes to smoke marijuana? Could be.
Now,
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. And it's irrelevant to sit here and try to this is where we're kind of getting into determination, whether you're self-determination or if everything is just kind of, you know, predetermined and you really don't understand that you're not really making any choices because it's all just chemicals in your brain.
and that's what I feel. I don't like that. And I don't like the fact that there are people in power who can actually, they have the knowledge and the know-how to manipulate the chemicals in your brain. They did it with pop or with Coke and popcorn in theaters, like and most people just think that that's, a bunch of horseshit, but it's not. It actually works. You can play with somebody's vision, and it's all about your vision and your smell and your senses. Your senses are what set off the hormones and the chemicals in your body. It's what makes all of your cells talk to each other. If you learn those mechanisms, they basically hijacked your body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy.
It's kind of it's
So
kind of the
having a
same thing
choice
that I'm
does
saying
give
that's
you
happening with
power.
all this, algorithms and the fact that they're collecting all this information. It's like the algorithms have gotten so good that like, dude, it's not even like just like they're listening to your mics. Like there's stuff that literally I will think about like, hey, I kind of need something like this. And then it'll pop up on my stuff.
Oh, I've
Like it's
had
to the
that.
point where they're seeing what you're thinking about and they're able to predict your next thought. And that to me is where it's getting extremely creepy.
And we allowed it. We just let it happen.
Like, and I will call myself out as I was a little bit naive on this. I remember when it first started being a thing and everybody first started freaking out about it, and I was like, quit being so damn paranoid. I was like, look, if you're gonna get fed ads, at least get fed ads you want to see, right?
You can't,
You know what I mean? Like,
you
in
can't
my opinion, like I was
separate
like, at least that. I mean, that I'd rather see a bunch of ads for stuff I might actually buy than see a bunch of ads for stuff that I never will.
with great technology like the internet. There's good and there's bad aspects of it, but the problem is you can't separate it. You
Yep.
can't separate the bad from the good. The bad's just going to be there, and it's pretty bad. But that whole situation, I think what irritated me the most, and no, that is what irritated me the most, is you're gonna tell me that I'm dehumanizing lesbians who like penises, and then you're gonna boot out the lesbian. Last time I checked, lesbians who like penises are bisexual women. That's fine.
Yep.
I have nothing wrong with bisexual women. I don't care. You do you, honey. Like, but
Right.
having it
I'm looking
canceled
at them
out,
like they're the most lucky.
right? And
I'm
how
just
are
gonna be
you
real.
canceled?
Look, like I look at that like that's privilege. I know, like in some
It
cases
is.
it's not technically privilege, but I mean, like honestly, you got your pick of the litter across the board. Like
Now, but
that's gotta be awesome.
you're gonna cancel out the lesbian because she doesn't like penis. That doesn't make any sense, first of all.
But look at it from, let me tell you the other end of this. This is the part that blows my mind. It's the other end of this. I'm over here in the mod chat arguing, going like, dude, this is messed up. You can't be muting her for saying this. And they're like, well, she's being extremely abrasive. And then I'm like, well, I thought we weren't tone policing. That was the reason why you don't want to take down all these other stuff that these other people are saying when they're screaming transphobe at people. You know what I'm saying? Because you said you didn't want to tone police, but here you do. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, "Well, we got to make people feel safe. LGBT people feel safe
But
to
you
talk."
just
And I'm like,
canceled one.
you just muted somebody in the LGBT community for not having the right view. I was like,
And you're straight, you
how is that
asshole.
going to make them feel like they can talk? It's like we don't have a single, and I'll straight up say that we did not have a single trans anybody, lesbian anybody, nobody that wasn't cisgender in that entire group chat. Not a single person. Yet they're over here acting like they have the right to tell the LGBT community what they're supposed to believe. And why does he have that right? Because he knows a lot of them, and this is what the majority say.
Is it
And it's
though?
like, is that? And it might be
It's
if
not.
you're in New York. You know
Not
what I'm
even
saying? Like,
there.
yeah, like I guarantee the majority of the Republicans you meet are all anti-gun too, aren't they?
We
You know what I'm
don't
saying? It's like
forget our
it's
history
like,
that
do you
easily.
want me to start telling you what the majority of progressives believe in Alabama? It'll piss you off.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, you're in a blue area talking to a blue segment of the population, and you're telling me they're telling you all the same thing. I bet they are. But
and
if
not
you
only
come
that,
down here and listen to people in red areas talking about the same stuff, they're a lot different. They have a lot different viewpoint.
and not only that, you're talking about needing to protect the minority group while at the same time saying we got to cancel this because hers is the opinion of the majority. Make that make sense.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is at the end of the day, this is exactly the thing you're supposed to be trying to solve. And you're becoming part of the problem. Because like I said, none of what they're saying actually, this is my big issue with progressives. And like, I'm not saying this applies to every single one of them, but it's most. And that's, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be truthful here. I really don't. I don't believe you want to protect LGBTQ voices. I believe you want a club for your enemies. I don't believe you want to protect black people. You just want a club for your enemies. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe you're against murdering people. You just want a club for your enemies. I don't believe you were ever anti-war. You just wanted a club for your enemies. You were never against those kids being caged at the border. You just wanted a club for your enemies.
It's so true.
Because if you were, why did you stop? Why do you change the way you feel depending on whether it's convenient?
And how do you explain these once liberals? I mean, because shit's shifting again, but yet some of these liberals are even coming out like, oh, whoa, this is kind of wrong. It's all wrong. And it's like even they see it, but somehow this voice, this progressive voice, is still so much louder, and it wants to. I mean, that post was from a trans man. Do you see how they basically treated his words and his outcries? Like, hey, we need to stop doing this. They just treated him like he was some sort of Republican pundit, right? Now,
right, they
is that the case,
delegitimized him based on his affiliation, and that's
now
exactly
is that
the
the
point.
case, or is it that you're silencing him and the Republicans are actually the ones helping get his voice out there and
That's
giving him
exactly
his
what I was saying. They were
platform?
like, well, the guy's like, oh, well, he was on Mount Walsh, so I don't really trust. It's like, well, look, dude, if you're trying to come out and say, hey, I'm a trans person that had this surgery and I regret it, CNN is not picking up that story.
No. And you can go all over YouTube. It doesn't matter. Wherever you see either desisters or wherever you see trans people speaking out about this, it's not ever on a left-wing platform. It's always right-wingers giving their platforms to these voices. Now, isn't that like the whole point? Like, you would hear sometimes BLM telling us that we needed to step back and, be advocates and give up our platforms and use our platforms to further their cause or whatever. But now that the Republicans are doing it for trans people, it's all of a sudden a bad thing. Now all of a sudden they're guilty by association because it's Republicans giving them the platform and handing over their platform for their voices.
This is why I say the genetic fallacy is so horrible. Like, I'm a libertarian. I don't trust the Republicans. I don't trust the Democrats. I believe they're all just reporting what is beneficial to them. This is the reason why I think it's really hard to get good anti-war news and things like that because of that. Because that's the stuff that they're in agreement on is the stuff that's really hard to get good news on. But like the stuff that they're not is the stuff that it's really easy to find both sides of something because they're both trying to one up each other.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and the thing is like, this isn't to say that one side is right or the other. This is the point being is like we're trying to have conversation. Like, you're a fucking communist.
I don't give a fuck I don't give a fuck if it's Republicans or Democrats or whoever giving these people
and
their
I'm a libertarian.
platforms.
Like, neither one of us like either team.
I don't care who it is as long as they get their voices heard. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like,
Right. Neither one of it. And then that's another thing that really killed me too, is this, like, they're over here getting so mad. And I'm like that one post, I pointed that out specifically. Like, I directly quoted you and put that. I might be paraphrasing a little bit here because I don't have it in front of me, but I directly quoted you and I said, hey, the lady literally said, these people should be made to feel comfortable in their bodies and not feel like they have to mutilate their genitals to feel accepted.
correct.
I was like, that is not someone who hates trans people. That is not someone who is fearful of trans people. That is someone who cares and is trying to make sure that the right thing is done. You know what I mean? Like, these are
totally
kids.
okay with
These are
normalizing
people. Like,
women with penises. don't care. Like,
Right.
I would rather do that than have them have surgery. Like, that's so unnecessary.
Yeah,
and the
it's a
same reason
lot.
is
It's
the
one
way
of
that
those things. I'm generally one of those people who say like, unless you're trying to get tits, like plastic surgery is probably not a good idea. Like that's pretty much all they figured out.
now I've watched some tranny porn in my life, right? Now the trans women with penis or with like penises and tits, it's actually kind of hot. It's not that bad.
But no, I'm just saying, like generally, like that they know how to do fake tits. They've been doing that for a while. They've
Those
been
are
like they
great.
don't know how to do a nose job. They don't.
No.
Like everybody looks like a freaking reptile. Like if you look at it, like all this other stuff, it's like look at how much plastic surgery's been around for how long, and they're still terrible at it.
Right?
Like
And then
they're not gonna be able to give you what they say they're gonna give you.
and you're wanting to trust these people with kids? No.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like they're not gonna be able to give you what they say they're gonna be able to give you. And that's the thing. And a lot of the reason why that is too is you also have to realize, and this is something I feel like the left should be more wary of, knowing who they are and what stances they take, is these people are trying to make money. Just like
That's
if
the
you
part
go
that
into any
baffles me. How
plastic
the hell are you
surgery,
going to go
you
and
go
sit
to
for a bunch of
any plastic surgery and they're gonna draw all over your face and all over your body and go, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this
and how
stuff you never even had an issue with.
dehumanizing is that? Seriously,
And I
that is
think they
so
intentionally do that
dehumanizing.
too. They intentionally draw issue to flaws you might have never even seen. Why? Because it makes them more money. That's the reason why these people will go in for plastic surgery and just keep coming back again and again and again.
You know what? I will hark on Dylan Mulvaney because of his girlhood thing. One thing I do appreciate about him was normalizing the bulge. I know it's a little fucking creepy, but honestly, I can get behind that message. Because when Caitlyn Jenner was like, "Great, you're a trans woman with a penis." Okay, what's wrong with that? Why are you trying to make Dylan feel like Dylan needs to really chop that off? Like, I don't agree with that message.
Agreed.
There's some weird little interplays in that where I'm just like, bro, I really sorry, not bro, whatever, but I don't like you appropriating my
But let
face
me
and
also
saying
let
you're
me
going
also
through
make a big point too, that I also think
365
that
days
any
of
adult should be
girlhood.
able to make any alteration to their body they want to.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about here specifically is we're talking about what the medical recommendation is going to be. And like I think me and you both agree that the medical recommendation should be based on medical science,
Yeah.
and not whether or not we're trying to, it's not some kind of psychology experiment, not some kind of, profit seeking situation.
And really, this is just the cosmetic industry going pretty hard on society right now, trying to experiment with children. I don't like it. I don't
Yeah.
like it at all.
And that's really the big issue for me is it's like, to me, that's the big issue. Is just like you're talking about a cosmetic surgery for children. It's not like they're going in there and creating an ovary and all that stuff. So it's not like an actual sex change. It's a
And
cosmetic change.
what I want to make real clear here is that trans people, transsexuals, they do exist. Like, that is a real fucking thing. Like, gender dysphoria is no fucking joke. To sit there and try to basically go in and say, well, you don't need a medical or you don't need a diagnosis for being trans. Yes, actually you do, because that is exactly what helped them get the medical care that they needed. Not just because they wanted it. It wasn't a vanity. It wasn't a fetish. It wasn't anything like that. It was care that they actually needed it. And now you're making it harder. You're making it much harder for them to get the care that they actually need. Who's really getting their rights trampled on? Like, and who's really, you know, just getting lost in all of this? It's because of this umbrella term of trans, where you can be a trans, you know, like, and there's a big difference between people with gender dysphoria and, you know, gender fluidity. There's a big difference. And that is not being talked about enough, about how, like, you're making these lines so much harder for these people to get the care that they actually need by filling them with children who are just being children. That's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Like, let these kids hit some damn puberty and then see what happens. Let's stop actually harming the people that need the care, because it's not cosmetic surgery for them, it's reconstructive, which is medically necessary. There's a big difference. So I personally don't feel like that aspect right there, the difference between plastic surgeries as being cosmetic or reconstructive, necessary and unnecessary. You know, like, you have insurances that help you pay for this, and screw you, you can go, you know, pay for that yourself, because that's vain. It's all about vanity or fetish. That's not up to the people. No.
Yeah. You know, like I said, in a lot of ways, like I said, we have a lot of agreement. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff even in this issue that we probably disagree on.
Oh, I know.
Because, like I said, I'm pretty centrist about it, because I'm over here, like, I think that definitely when you're talking about kids, we should definitely steer away from this. But when you're talking about a grown adult, yeah. But, like, it goes back to, like, there's another example, just something quick that I ran into being a new father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was the whole there's a fear of shaming mothers who decide not to breastfeed, and because of that, it's almost impossible to really find real science on how long you should actually breastfeed, right? You have parents out there that are doing it till their kids are 5 and 6 years old,
You know
which
why?
is weird.
It's
And then
not
you
that
have,
weird, though, because it stops them from having another baby so quickly.
well, I do
Because
know that, but
right after you have a
after you
baby,
have your first menstruation cycle,
mm-hmm,
that completely stops working. I do know that.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know, because my wife used it for a while for that reason. But she's still breastfeeding and she's menstruating. I'm sure she can have a baby right now.
That's what they did in hunter-gatherer societies to naturally control their populations.
Yeah, I do know that is a very effective form of birth control, so long as you actually prevent the menstruation cycle. If the menstruation cycle starts again, then
Mm-hmm.
it won't work anymore.
Yep.
But that's a side note. But the point I'm making is like, I was looking into it and I couldn't find anything anywhere, because it's like people were like, oh, well, some mothers go to this and some mothers go to that and everything's fine. It's all about what mother and baby are comfortable with. And I'm over here like,
Some
this
babies
isn't
don't latch.
science. This isn't science. And the thing about it is look, this is the problem. This is a problem in our society. At the end of the day, like, it's okay to say, hey, look,
We
you
don't
know,
know.
if your baby has fucking teeth and it's 2 weeks in and you're like, hey, he keeps gnawing my damn nipple off, I'm not doing this anymore. Of course, that's fine. I get that. Nobody's mad at you. But at the same time, there are parents who are having no issues breastfeeding and would like to know when they're really getting diminishing returns and there's nothing really being solved from it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are parents out there that would just rather know, hey, like, what does the science say is a good time to stop? By the way, after digging for probably about a week, I found that the answer to that question is usually either their first winter or their second winter, depending on when the baby is born.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go through their first winter if they were born right after winter, right?
Mm-hmm.
you want to take them through their first winter. If they were born during the winter, you want to get them through that first one and then the second one.
Yep.
And then that usually gets them to about the age they need to be before they can use their own immune system. There's the answer to that question that nobody will answer. You can go to a damn doctor and ask the question. I know I did. And they won't tell you. They won't give you a straight answer.
It's so crazy, isn't it? Like our medicine industry, our entire it's just so trash. I wish we would go back to the old ways, but everybody hates that concept. Like there's nothing good about synthetic medicine. Really, I don't know any benefits that I can think of, honestly. It's designed to keep you on it. That's all it does. It's designed to keep you paying.
Yeah.
It's one of the, yeah. And I mean, this is our health. And just because they have, increased longevity in some people, like, does that really matter? I mean, I would rather live a short and good life knowing that I accomplished everything that I could than live a long and miserable life on drugs and, like actually I might actually enjoy living a long and miserable life on drugs, not gonna lie, but shit.
Like you said, I hit 90, bro. I'm trying heroin.
I'm doing it.
Let me see what the fuss is about.
Yeah. Give me all that PCP, please. We're gonna see if I could kill myself on this.
Oh man. So do you want to go ahead and talk about our answer to CBD, given that?
Oh my. Well, my answer was honestly, I don't like that shit, so I'm not gonna lie. It was very okay then. We will play that game. Well, before that, the first time I had got muted when I said lesbians aren't transphobes if they don't want to suck a dick. Which weird, whatever. And then genital mutilation was the one that got me booted. But when I had first said that one and you had invited me over to the group and you were like, yeah, I've never seen a lefty go so hard on other lefties. They did not like that, and you invited me over to the group. And then after I had got booted, I was just pretty headstrong about wanting to get the voices that were shut down back up and running again from that group. So I mean, I pretty much started inviting as many people as I possibly could. And now I'm a little concerned though, Danny, a little bit concerned that have you noticed how many right-wing voices they shut down and how many we got in there?
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
All the people that were like, oh, Daniel's making a group. I mean, it's all a bunch of people that I just stuck up for repeatedly.
And I mean,
even though I don't agree with them.
Although we still need more lefties, we really need more lefties. So please, lefties. I don't want it to drown out as a right-wing echo chamber. That'll really freak me out. I'm trying to avoid that. But yeah, so I guess mainly it's about, like giving people their voices back after being called transphobes and bigots for so long, which I don't think I'll tolerate at all. I mean, yeah. I'm not going for that kind of crap.
Yeah, personally. I don't want to hear the transphobes, bigots. I don't want to hear the pedophiles. If you can't come up with a better
argument, then you're probably wrong. Just saying.
At least your logic is.
At least your logic is, yes. Now, the one guy that we were talking to today, he was a lefty,
And boy, howdy, you know, like he did not resort to any sort of name calling. And he brought forth some pretty damn good points. I mean, they weren't points that I would necessarily agree with, but it's a lot better than the crap I've been hearing lately. Like, I didn't realize that some of these people actually had some arguments. And then we have like Megan Margaret. Is that it? Yeah, Megan Margaret. She has a way of always maintaining some sort of level of civility that you can actually talk to her about it. She doesn't just try to shut you down. And sometimes I feel bad because I was so used to being called a transphobe and a bigot and you know that. And then sometimes it would just instantly project onto her, which I am working on. I'm trying to, you know, get better about that myself. But she, you know, like she makes a lot of good points too. There are people who are still level-headed in this game, like, you know, that are still very level-headed and they're making good points. So I still want those voices on the left to, you know, come out and still be able to talk about it. But I think really we need to learn how to figure out how to just have respect for one another and figure out ways to agree to disagree. It's okay. We can all still work together. You know, we don't have to start dividing everything apart into red and blue and blah, blah, you know, like this isn't necessary. We're already culturally divided. If we start getting like geographically divided, that's scary.
Yeah, we sell it up front, but guess what?
That's basically going to mean one of two things: civil war, dictatorship. I don't want either one of those things.
Right.
So that's kind of, you know, my whole purpose for getting into this. And I'm big on organizing. I love organizing and getting people together, and I love having perspectives, and I hate the status quo where everybody just agrees. It's so boring, you know. I don't want that. We need disagreements that shows diversity, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's kind of my goal. What about you?
It really is that. I think that, you know, a huge inspiration of mine is a man named Daryl Davis. Have you ever heard of this guy?
I have not.
Daryl Davis is a black blues singer, and he is famous because he has thousands of Klan robes in his house in a trophy room because he has converted all of these people out of the Klan.
Uh-huh.
And if you ever listen to him talk about how he converts these like literal white supremacists as a black man, it's insane. And it's very interesting, you know, he's kind of talking about it like, you know, he's one of his big quotes is when we're talking, we're not fighting. And he's like, you know, while someone might be saying something to you that's hurtful and hurts her feelings, right? As
Right.
long as you guys are talking it out, you're not at war.
Correct.
So that's kind of the thing he's saying. He's saying as long as I can get these guys to sit down and talk to me, they're not running out and dragging people behind trucks. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a really good point that he's making. You know,
What really scares me is that we should be able to come together on kids, and that's not happening yet.
And I hear you there. I really do. And I think I do. I definitely do agree with you there that I feel like we should definitely be able to come together more on children. But at the end of the day, that's truthfully not something we've ever been able to do. Not fully. You know, like I could go into a tirade about child labor. That's one that I like to really go into. Maybe I'll make a post about it because it's a funny little situation about how we all truly do believe in child labor, but we won't admit it.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
chores?
because it's like, who do you think's gonna play the kids in movies? Are y'all not okay with that? Do you think that should be illegalized?
I
And then I mean, someone could make the argument that, oh, well, it's not that rough of a job. It isn't. Show me a child star that hasn't lost their damn mind.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
That's so
like,
true.
so it goes to a point where it's like we all truly do believe in it. You don't have a problem with your kid mowing your lawn. You know what I mean? You have a problem with working for a lawn care agency and mowing 12 in that day and making some money for it.
Yeah.
So what is really the situation here? So I've always found that one to be an interesting one. So it's like one of those things that people will be like, how do you feel about that? What side are you on that? I'm like, honestly, I can't really tell you. I haven't really fully decided. And then people will be like, that's so crazy. And I'm like, well, truthfully, you haven't either. You just don't realize it.
I used to think, like that protecting a child's innocence is for as long as we can was actually probably one of the better things that we ever did as a society. But now that I look at it, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Right.
Because now they're more vulnerable. Back in the day, these 13-year-olds would be chopping people's knees off with freaking swords, like.
Right. Well, I also think that there's a lot, that is a very true statement, that we do coddle children a little bit too much. And a lot of more right wingers would probably point to something that I would actually agree to being that there's a lot less men around for these kids, and men tend to be the tempering influence on a woman. Basically, men tend to think their kids are older than they are. They're like, nah, he'll be fine. And women tend to be the opposite.
No, he's just my baby. I don't want him to grow up. He's got to be a Peter Pan.
Right. So that tempering influence, that tug and pull, kind of gets the kid to have stuff right around their age range.
Yeah.
Right. So when that's not present, you have like a single mother, then you have these kids that never really have to grow up.
I mean, we could be like other animals in the animal kingdom, where we teach them how to eat and we teach them how to walk, and then we just send them out.
Good luck.
Good luck. Oh. But I mean, I don't like how, at the end of the
day, they used to do that.
I don't like how parents do treat children though, like they're property either. Like, I don't like that at all. That's a huge problem. Well, I think it should be the parent's choice. No. What? Parents, some parents are just not that great. I don't care what anybody says. Parent choice is really not the ideal, but although it is good to have parental rights over the state, I do agree.
Right. This is one of the fun little topics I've always said is who owns the child's body?
Well, nobody really. Nature. Nature does. We don't dictate what happens to our own bodies. We can only nurture them and look after them, but what happens with our bodies really isn't up to us. And if it is up to somebody, then it's probably not a good thing.
Why can I make the choice of who I have sex with?
You can,
obviously, I make that choice because I own my body.
Well,
and if anyone else makes that choice for me, it's immoral, right?
Now you have social, and even with things even with diseases, you have social diseases and you have not ones that are not social, right?
Right.
You have genetic diseases, and then you have social diseases. Social diseases would stream more from sex. So sex and owning bodies, I'm not so sure if that's, sure there is.
Well, I think what you're getting at there, though, is more of a consequence of your choice rather than whether or not it is your choice.
That's something you can actually control, is something you have sex with. You can't control anything like genetic or anything in the environment that can make you very, very sick
You know, like you can't control
Right.
that. That's out of your control. You can't control
Right.
your own body from that.
Well, like I was saying, I think I've talked to you about this before, but rights aren't necessarily about what's possible or impossible. Kind of like saying, saying you have a right to choose who you have sex with doesn't mean that you can't be raped. It means that if you are, it's immoral. You know what I mean? Having a right to freedom of religion doesn't mean that you can't be, forcibly converted by some, conquering religion.
Correct.
Right? It means that if you are, that's wrong.
It's about virtue.
Right. And that's
Morality. It's about all of
right.
that. And you get that from Stoicism. I know you do.
Well, the non-aggression principle generally is an idea of universal morality. So basically saying that, you can practice a stricter morality outside of that, but universally the introduction of force is what makes things immoral. It's kind of, and it's basing that off of what generally humans see as immoral, which would be like, the difference between, rape and sex is force.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like, and
that's why
force
rape is
usually
immoral
comes-
and sex is not.
Force usually comes from trying to control things that you ought not control.
Exactly.
Like other people's actions, other people's behavior. Like you don't control that.
Right. And then, like I said, on all of that idea, right, all of the ideas of, the non-aggression principle and libertarianism and all of that comes from the idea that you own your own body, right? So that's why I have a right to have sex with who I want, use whatever drugs I want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's because I own my body. You see what I'm saying? Private property even is an extension of that. It's I own my body, so I own the product of my body. So if I mix my body with nature, then I own the product of that. And if I decide to take my body's labor and sell it to somebody for a profit, I own the product of that because it's my body.
I'm trying
You
to
see what I'm saying? So that's where the whole idea of property rights actually extends out of is the fact of you owning your own body.
The reason that kind of now, and I'm not saying that things aren't allowed to be bad because this is nature. It's not, this isn't utopia. It's nature. The only thing we can do is really strive for better, right?
Right.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have this whole concept of owning a body, then you get things like my body, my choice. And then you get
Right.
things like abortion. And then you get things like transitioning your children. And then you get things like all of this also stems from
this
body
is why libertarians will all universally say my body, my choice, but not universally say they're pro-abortion. Have you noticed that?
That's kind of where this whole body ownership comes from, though.
Well, no, not necessarily. That was a hijacked argument from the progressives. The progressives have hijacked a lot of libertarian arguments because they sound good.
Progressives have hijacked a lot of Marxist arguments too.
Right, because they sound good. If it sounds good, they'll take it. They don't actually believe in any of it. It just if it sounds good, they like it.
I hate having to defend Karl Marx all the time.
But my body, my choice is, basically it's possible for that to go either way with abortion, right? Because the argument then comes to it's like, yeah, you have your body, your choice, but are we talking about your body? Or are we talking about another body?
But it's a body inside a body, and then we get into dehumanizing children.
Yeah, it is a body inside of a body, right? But then, like I said, there's other questions that start to come into, right? So it's like you're arguing an eviction, right? So a good analogy for this is like because like I said, I can argue both sides of this. I did it with Alex. There's actually an episode of that.
But can you do it without dehumanizing a baby?
Yes.
Okay.
But
all I care about. I'm tired of the fetus.
But the argument here is like the point I'm saying is, like, if you're in a hot air balloon, right, and you invite somebody onto the hot air balloon, right, and it's on the ground, right, then you can kick them out, right? No problem, right? But if you take it up 30,000 feet, can you just kick them out? Or do you have an obligation to take him back down?
Give me like who is
You
this
see what I'm
person? What
saying?
do they do?
So the thing about a sexual act is you are inviting a baby.
Now,
Does that make sense?
what's the one that they use? It's you have the
So
world's
that's kind of
greatest.
the argument is if you are inviting that baby on there and you've taken a baby into a dangerous situation, then you have an obligation, because you invited it, to get it to safety before you abandon it.
So they have a counter
Does that make
argument to
sense?
that. Have you heard that one yet?
Kind of like if you kidnap somebody, right, and you don't feed them, you still get murder, even though you can argue, oh, I didn't really have an obligation to feed them. Well, once you've taken that responsibility, yes, you do.
Yeah. Now, if you
Does
now
that make sense?
they have the world's greatest violin player, which is I do believe is a counter to that, where they talk about if you wake up and you have been kidnapped and you are connected to somebody on life support and they're getting your blood to stay alive. You don't know who this person is, you don't know how you got there or anything else. Is it okay to detach yourself from them and leave?
Yeah, like I said, there's a million ways to look at this, and that's kind of why I've always argued that, like, I personally, in my personal life, I kind of use the argument that if you're driving down the road and you see a shadow figure in the road, right, and you're not really sure if it's a person or not, right, what would you do? Would you swerve or just plow through it because you're not really sure? You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things. It's like I err on the side of caution and go, I think it's a person, so I won't. I think it could be a person, so I don't think you should kill it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, if I woke up and
But to
something
say
was
that I
real-
have a full, I'm so firm on that, and there's no way that an argument could be presented that could change my mind. That's not true. That would be a lie.
I'm up in the air. I don't like it for
Does that make
eugenic
sense?
purposes. I think it's
So,
disgusting.
and
It's
really
tailored
what
specifically
really
towards
changed
the
my
Black
mind,
community.
what really kind of opened my mind about it too, was really kind of thinking about the vaccine argument. Because
Yeah.
it was really that argument was like, what do you owe to the preservation of another life? How much of your body do you owe to the preservation of another life? Say the vaccine actually did work 100% as good as they said it did. You know what I'm saying? What do you owe to the preservation of someone else's life?
You don't?
You see what I'm saying? And
You
that's kind
don't.
of that's really the question. You know,
Mine-
how far does my body, my choice go? And then and that's kind of where I would argue is I go, you don't. And then I go, but then what does that mean about abortion?
Mine was, I think for me, for abortion coming, because I used to be a very strong pro-choice person, you know, and I think coming out of it for me was I had found that there was a mechanism that was used to hide a very bad thing, you know, that was happening, where there's some sort of mechanism that can be played with that makes your values keep you from seeing the truth. So you are blinded to what is actually happening by your values. It's like putting a little pretty bow on a scary monster, right?
Right.
And so I think it was me trying to figure out that mechanism and break through some of my limiting belief systems, that I had, like, I was just like, holy crap, like, this is bad. This is genocide. And we think it's okay. Like, we could be arguing to make a better economy. We could be arguing to give women opportunities, not to have them kill their child and remove their child from themselves. Can you imagine? You have to live with that for your entire life. And then I had somebody send me an article saying that women were happier after having an abortion. Bullshit. There's no possible way. I don't know. You would have to be a psychopath. And I just don't believe that women are psychopathic. Like, maybe some, but not all. And to say that 90% of women were happier after having an abortion, I don't buy it.
And then, I mean, honestly, to be truthful here, it's how do you know?
Because you're taking a life that has
No, I
an
mean,
effect on you.
no, I'm just saying either way, it's like one of those things. It's like they're happier afterwards. How do you know?
Oh yeah, I know.
Like you're comparing it to
it's
as
from
compared to what?
Self-surveys. It's from self-surveys, and they're not going to want to tell you any different.
That's not even what I'm getting at. I'm saying as compared to what? Did you compare this survey? Did you compare it to as if they had that kid? Like you can't know. They didn't have the kid. You see what I'm saying? Like once it's gone one way or the other, you can't know what the results of the other
to get it to go into the nucleus of the cell. I mean, they literally have like IR spectrums that can make any kind of foreign material get into the nucleus of your cell. Doesn't matter. They were using bacteriophages, which is basically what oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Which is basically what the Johnson and Johnson one was. So those are actual like viruses that have had the DNA ripped out of them and reinserted with different DNA. Now those specific viruses are able to attach themselves to your ACE receptors on your cells and insert themselves into the nucleus of your cell. Like it's designed to go into the nucleus. There's no getting around that. So I knew that was a lie. And it's just like lie after lie after lie. And it's like, I don't know, but y'all need to take some genetic classes so you can spot this shit, right?
Well, that not necessarily exactly like that, but to an extent, kind of what you're saying. Like, they use the word vaccine very generally, and then they'd be like, well, you're wrong. The vaccine doesn't work like this. This is how the Johnson and Johnson works. Whenever you were saying something about mRNA vaccines, and if you were saying something about the adenoviral vaccines, they would go, no, you're wrong. This is how the mRNA vaccines work.
Yeah, it was all about the mRNA vaccines. They wanted the focus to be on the mRNA vaccines. So with me, I know that any good conspiracy, they're going to have your focus in one place and they're going to be doing something different over here, right? So everybody was in an uproar about mRNA. And it's like, okay, no, that's cool, whatever. Those are just, lipids. I mean, sure, they can get past a cell with some transduction or whatever, that's fine. But what do we have going on here? They're using actual viruses. They're just gutting them and they're sending them into your body. That's a little scary. And it's not the same as sending a live attenuated or one, that they have completely decommissioned or whatever, however, and sending it into your body to stimulate an immune response. It's not the same thing because they're inserting their own code into it. So you don't really know what they're stimulating your immune response for. You don't know if it's COVID. You don't know. There's no way of telling. I mean, for all we know, it wasn't COVID. It wasn't a coronavirus. Now, I mean, I'm just saying that it was a coronavirus. It has a weird structure that has a lot of splicing in it, which is usually a good sign of
lab manipulated. So it has a lot of splicing and it has a lot of, yeah, so I'm not so sure. I don't like to really, I do like to get into that, the lab made versus the natural made, but I'm pretty certain it comes from natural origins, but it's also been manipulated. I like that argument.
Well, I mean, that's kind of an obvious thing, though, at the same time, isn't it?
It is.
Because it's kind of one of those things. It's like, oh, it comes from lab origins. It's like, yeah, like when they manipulated chicken to make it look like a velociraptor because they throw cells in there.
But it has to come
Like,
from
yeah, it came from natural origins, but
you have to get it from somewhere. So I do kind of want to put together like a slideshow maybe on the coronavirus. So I don't want to get too much into that because I would
that's totally
like
fine.
to do that podcast where we talk about that kind of stuff. But I
know we've planned that one for a while, but all this other stuff popped up in our lives.
Yeah. And now, we are on the, I don't want to say warpath, but hell, why not? Culture wars, here we come. So, we are basically starting a new group that doesn't encourage people being called a bunch of names. Like, I don't want that. We are going to stick to the no ad hom rule, right? Big time, right?
Correct. I intentionally didn't have a legit like civility rule.
Yeah.
If anybody will notice, while civility is part of the name, I didn't actually do a civility rule. I instead did ad hominem.
I
think that's part of the reason I did that is because like people tend to think that ad hominem means insult.
And people also
think
think
that civility is just about not insulting. But like when you're just sitting there running up someone else's argument for them, you're not even arguing with them anymore. And you're calling them a bunch of names and then going, well, it's not really an insult to call somebody this name. It's just so unproductive.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you have a generalization, you supposedly have a generalization, you shouldn't be able to deduce it down within 3 seconds, period.
Right.
That was funny, though.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to figure out who it is instantaneously.
Yeah.
If it's a generalization.
That's not the whole concept of a generalization, but okay. So yeah, I'm pretty with you on the firm no ad hominem. But I think we do need to update our rules a little bit. So no dogpiling, I think would be a great rule.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be a great rule. My only little bit of hesitation with no dogpiling is less that having the rule and more the fact that it would be very close to impossible to enforce.
Oh, I meant for our mod team.
Oh yeah, definitely for the mod team, it'd be easy.
No more dogpiling.
Yeah, the mod team, I can do that. I can handle 4 to 7 people.
That's
But like trying to take on the whole group saying, hey, look, you guys, we can't do this. That's so much policing that it would kill us.
Yeah.
But like I do think that it's not really good. Like it's kind of like what I've said before when I was talking to you guys was that like if you're somebody, especially somebody new to the group, and you're having a debate with somebody, and then like you have 9 mods all arguing the same side against you, it makes it really hard, and it makes them feel very pressured to say what the mods are saying.
Intimidating.
Right.
And I will say that the gentleman that had happened to, which I reached out to him and I have talked to him. I sincerely apologize because I did not want that to happen whatsoever. And we really need to figure out a way to make that stop.
I reached out to him and I
Well,
apologized.
like I said, we've talked to the mod team, so I don't think it's going to be that hard to get everybody on that page. Because, like I said, a lot of the people that did that were so used to it being done to them in the group before, and
Yeah.
it's so easy to just be like, "Look, dude, you remember how it felt when you were done that way. You don't want to do that to other people, right?"
But
And
I know you're the optimist, but I'm like, I kind of feel sometimes that there could be a little bit of a venge thing there, and I want to make sure that we keep on top of that. I think that's important too, because sometimes people can just get really out, like they don't even think about it at the moment.
yeah, it's something that in CPD they used to do, but they stopped doing.
Yeah.
Was if somebody was new, they gave them a little bit more leeway, right? Because it's like, look, you just came from 9 other groups where you were just slinging mud all the time. Maybe you don't really understand what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And
now that Tony guy was very impressive, and when I reached out to him, he accepted my apology, and I was right about that. He did say that was the reason why. But I'm like, we need some more left-wing opinions here. So I would like to get more left-wingers on our mod team.
Yeah, it used to really piss me off so much being at CPD and seeing them say stuff like that all the time. Like somebody would be really pissed off and be like, "Hey, the mods are all biased," and a lot of times it'd be a conservative saying this, right? And then the mods would come in there and they'd be like, "Oh, well, we have mods from all kinds of viewpoints, so it's basically impossible for us to be biased." And then I'm over here like, dude, we don't have a single conservative mod. We have one libertarian mod that you completely ignore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's literally the situation.
It was bullshit. You got booted. First of all, I'm not okay with that. Like, that's not okay.
It literally said it was because they wanted to appear impartial. Because Mike was literally bullying people and they were getting messages from everybody in the group showing all these conversations that concern the hell out of them. That's what they told me.
I'm on the left, and the only person sticking up for me was on the right wing. I mean, that says a lot, like about how you are about being not biased. Because a lot of people, I honestly don't think that the left likes to get just eaten by another lefty, honestly. I don't think they know how to handle that. I think that's why I got silenced, is because they didn't know how to handle another lefty coming at them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they really didn't like that they didn't have the same, plug and play excuse that they usually have for everything else. They had to actually think about what they were saying and try to make it make sense. And then what I also think is kind of interesting is even like they even said that he even said afterward, funnily enough, that he acted rashly. And I'm like, then why is it that we like this is the kind of stuff that really kind of killed me. I know I'm gonna go off on a crazy little tangent, but like that would happen way too often. That somebody would quote unquote act rashly or make an accident, and then we were just gonna stick with what the accident was.
Yeah, that's so dumb. Like, just admit that you
right.
were
It's like
wrong
if it's an
and fix
accident,
it.
then we need to undo the action. No, we're just gonna let it sit as it is.
I mean, I would be reaching out, admitting I was wrong. Hey, yeah, I'm really sorry that, like that's so dumb to me. People that can't admit that they were wrong, or, like people that can't admit that something had went wrong in the situation, that's beyond me. If you can't admit that, when you know that, it says a lot more about your character than it does mine.
And that's kind of the thing that I'm saying is it's like, that you went too far and you did, and it's like, but what you expected to be able to do was change it after the fact. The thing is he nuked that whole comment thread, if you remember.
Yeah, I know.
And that was the thing, was I really think that was what it was. He was hoping he could go off of just his word of what you said.
Yeah.
That was the plan. But then Eric O, who again is not aligned with you at all, had a bunch of screenshots.
Oh yeah,
You
'cause,
had a
know,
few
I reached out to
screenshots.
him. Well, he kind of reached out to me. He's like, "Where'd you go?" And then I reached out to him. I was like, "These motherfuckers." Well, this
So we were
motherfucker.
able to show exactly what he did. But like I said, but you know, that was kind of the thing I keep pointing to him. It's like, look, but he did not want to admit any of it when he was called out. It's like he didn't say that he was rash until you guys called him out. And it's like, you guys sit here and say that this is the reason why we have all these people with different viewpoints, is so we can call each other out. But if you're not going to listen when someone's calling you out, then what's the point?
Exactly.
And that's kind of the thing that I say. It's like with us, it's like, I know it might get annoying with each other nitpicking the hell out of everything that we say in the group, but the reasoning is important.
I honestly hate doing that. I do, because for me, I don't like I said, I'm better with networking, and I'm better with like, stuff like that, like reaching out with members and like stuff like that. I am not very good at managing a team. Although, I mean, I can, but I get really micromanaging, and I get really nitpicky that maybe, I don't know, it might be best to leave that to you and Alex. I don't know.
But no, I mean, like I said, that's the value there, is, like I said, to be nitpicky. You're gonna see these things that other people don't see.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, don't get me wrong. I have no problem telling you, just like I did before. I was like, just be careful with this whole ad hominem, political figures, because I don't think we should police that in the group per se. Now on
No,
our mod team, yeah. See, it's like, I have no problem coming in and going, hey, you're going far, if I believe that you're going too far. You know what I'm saying? And like that
my
again, that's the function of us. This is why we're not doing this with one guy running the whole show.
my main reasoning for not wanting that for a mod is because, as your job as a mod, if you are engaging in ad hom, it doesn't matter if it's towards president or anything, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss ad homs. You're not gonna recognize them when you're engaging in them. So it's so important for you to be able to recognize that, because it's our number one rule, and it's one thing that we, I personally don't want to budge on it. But you have to be, because it's not just an insult. There's some underhand ways that people do ad hom that you're going to have to be aware of, and you're not going to be aware of that if you're engaging in ad hom insults.
Right.
You're not going to see it.
Like I said, if you get good at these logical fallacies, you can do them without a lot of people even catching them.
And the more you engage into logical fallacies, like, the more you're just going to miss it too. And it's like, you got to be a step above that. I don't think policing how people talk about the president in a group, I mean, that's what he's there for, but the people that are moderating that group, it's different. It's a lot different to me. Like, I would have a much higher.
Plus, it also gives you the appearance of being more
like, oh, well, you
extreme
can do this, why
and
can't I do
biased
it?
than you might be.
It's what empowers other to use it. We've seen
Right.
it in the last group with Mike doing it. It empowered everybody around him and his little posse to all do the same thing. It made them feel empowered. And there was no way that anybody was going to be able to stop it because he was doing it.
Right. And then I couldn't bring, the admins were barely there. And and like I said, when I did bring it up, they wouldn't look through what was actually going on.
Oh my
They just
God.
wanted a summary.
Oh my God, Danny, like I sent them screens. I sent them that, you know, like that whole thing I did for the hey, for the admins that sent them proof of all of this. They're like, oh, well, I don't recall seeing anybody doing ad hom. Are you fucking kidding me? I literally sent you an entire document of it.
Right.
Of all of the people that are the problem. I literally sent you a shot of somebody saying, I don't care if you're just mad because I don't want to engage in civil discourse with you. Literally, you had somebody saying, I don't want to engage in civil discourse with you in a group about civil discourse. That's a fucking problem. Like, and they didn't even look through it. They're like, well, I didn't see any ad homs. Can you send me any proof? I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. Here, I sent them some more screenshots. And because they had asked me, they were like, do you think you can switch it up? I was like, that just kind of depends, because those sharp phrases are what I use to stop ad hominem. So that really depends on what you're going to do about your little empowered posse and the couple little admins over there who empower them about doing ad hom. That depends, because I use those sharp phrases for a damn reason. I can approach conversations in a much different way, but those sharp phrases, they shock it. They shock it and they get people to pay attention. Sorry. Yes, I will continue to use them if you do absolutely nothing about that ad hom bullshit you have spiraling out. Don't know what to tell you. They literally told me, I don't know why we can't allow these sharp phrases. We can't come to agreement on it. We just know that we can't. But you can allow ad hom. You can allow insults. You can allow your moderators calling people transphobes and bigots. And you can't allow sharp, true statements. That doesn't make any sense. But, you know, this whole thing doesn't make sense, so hell.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with motivations as well. This is why I've also said that, you know, these people, that all the moderators, you know, need to be very aware that, like, if your motivation for doing this is accolades and love, you know, it's not, you might want to quit now.
Yeah. My motivation is people. My motivation is people. I want to bring people together. Like, and I know that might be like a utopian ideal or whatever, but I mean, you know, Spartans made utopian on war. Why can't I do it? I'm bringing people together. Like, that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I just want us to be able to actually have these conversations, you know. Yeah. I want to, you know, I have a great understanding, not perfect understanding, but I have a great understanding of all these different viewpoints from talking to different people from different viewpoints, you know, and that's the reason why I was so gung-ho on, no matter who it was, what side you were on, I would fight to make sure you stayed. Because it was like, I wanted to hear every input possible. This is the reason why I'm gung-ho to making sure that we don't leave out a progressive in our mod team the same way they left out a conservative.
Yeah, I don't.
For years.
I mean, you know, you guys completely. I mean, now I'm trying to recruit a progressive. Like,
right.
And Alex was the one that said it too. He was like, well, you can't change minds if you don't let anybody participate. And I'm just like, exactly. Damn your logic, Alex. I can't.
You know, and this is the same thing I would say about even like, because I'm a free speech extremist. I believe that even about racists. Yeah. It's like, you guys want to fix racism. Well, you got to start with talking to racists.
You can't talk to people who agree with you. It doesn't work.
You know, it's like it's that simple. Like
And
it
I
really
also
is.
think it's a good idea to just allow free speech anyways. That way you know how far these bad ideas have extended.
It's
Like,
this
I
weird
personally want to
idea that we
know
have.
when we're going to start to be
People literally
GOP.
say right now, it's like we shouldn't negotiate with Putin or this guy or that guy or
Why
this
the
guy or
fuck
that guy. And
not?
I'm like,
We
how the
live on
fuck
this
are you going to end a
world.
war
We live on
if
this
you
planet
don't
together.
negotiate with the other guy who you're at war with? You know, it's
We don't
idiotic, dude.
negotiate with
All throughout the
terrorists
Cold War,
unless they're
all
on
throughout
Capitol
the Cold
Hill.
War, all throughout the Cold War, we had open channels
Oh my
with
God.
Russia. The most heated we have ever been with Russia, we had open channels, and now they're talking about, man, maybe we should close them up. Like, how retarded is that?
I mean, our
Like, you
government
really
left
like.
soldiers in Siberia. Literally left them. What happened to No Man Left Behind? And they left them to freeze. Like, I'm gonna have to send you over some of those stories. I will send you over some of those stories. They're very interesting. You will like them. And it actually talked about how some of the Russians helped them get out of there. Which
Yeah.
It was a beautiful story. So I will send them to you. I think you will enjoy them. But
I will
I do
definitely
have
look
to
at it.
bolt. So if you want to pick up on some of this a little bit later, we can.
Definitely.
I gotta go.
Maybe if you're still awake whenever I get off, I will we'll get on here. Maybe we can do one on the coronavirus, or if you still need time to
Not
set up
yet.
your
I have to do
PowerPoint.
slides.
Okay, never mind then. Maybe
But
we'll do a different one on something else, but
yeah, we can definitely do one on something else. Civility in politics, baby.
because I
So
definitely need to. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and run the plug on the
oh yeah, I'm totally going to like trademark our name and our logo.
Okay. I will allow a trademark.
Yeah, no, it'll be mine, yours, and Alex's. So
I don't believe in intellectual property outside of trademarks.
yeah, no, just a trademark. And it's just because
I don't believe ideas can be owned, but I believe signatures can.
Yes, me too. I made that logo. I should have it. I put my labor.
Hey, if you want, you can go ahead and do Dad Influence.
Huh?
While you're at it.
Yeah. Oh, you want
if
me to
you
do
want,
your
you
logo?
can do that. Yeah.
I so want to. Yay! I'm so excited.
So that would be real neat. Like I said, I think going forward, our new team for Dad Influence, at least, is probably going to be me, you, and Alex. Seems to be the idea. We might try to see if we can't get some group members involved. That might be interesting.
Legit, I want to bring my friend Jay in. You'll love that dude. I know you will.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
definitely
talk
down.
to him a little bit more. He's been kind of busy, but want to bring him in on one eventually down the road. He's great. He's very intelligent too. Oh, yeah. So I think
You know me, I'm always down for
to pick up on this
deep
after
conversation.
Huh?
I'm down for a deep conversation. I'm trying to make it where when tyrants hear my name, they cower.
Right? I'm trying that when people hear my name that they're like, oh, she's great. We should go hang out with her. And then we have like a kumbaya. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really all about kumbayas. I kind of like my personal space, but kumbayas are fun sometimes if somebody brings the beer.
For sure.